Asphalt. We're now 97 years in business, based in Thornton, Illinois, just south of Chicago. We're a full asphalt company, so we have 4 asphalt plants in the Chicagoland area. We're members of every major asphalt organization in the country, along with founders of ARA, which is the Asphalt Reclamation and Recycling Association, which is where Hot Place is born. We have our own testing laboratory. We have a small one on site, and we also have a Chicago testing lab, which is off site, which is the oldest asphalt testing facility in the country. And we do everything asphalt. So we do new asphalt, new paving, mill and fill, parking lots, decorative asphalt, the whole 9 yards. So on place is the vision that we do. That crew can travel. It's a mobile unit that we can work across the country with. But we are at our core an asphalt company, so we're not some fly by night, just one, kind of company that just does one thing. So areas we've worked, there's a big list there. You can see some of the counties we've done work in Minnesota. We just did a project in the village of Bellevue a couple weeks ago. We're obviously here now, so that's just a small snippet. This is the map of the territory of the country that we do projects in. So this crew is all over the country. We tend to work in the south, starting in April, May, and then usually up in the upper Midwest, June, July, August, and then usually back down south to finish the year. We got like a 400,000 square yard project down in Georgia coming up this fall. That's where we'll finish. So the crew's kind of bouncing around all over the place. But what is hot in place? So what we do is we're on-site in place pavement preservation and rehabilitation. So we heat it, scarify it, mix it, repave it all in one pass, which you'll see today when we get out there, using the existing asphalt that you already paid for. So instead of milling it off, hauling it away, and then repaving 2 or 3 inches back, that's probably 20% of the asphalt that you already paid for anyway, because they remix it. We're just using that existing neighborhood. All that happens to asphalt over time is it loses its oil, the elements, heat, traffic, everything else. So we're just adding that oil back in, we're adding that rejuvenation back in, and just making it a new mix. Where we come into place is just kind of in the still good to fair roads that are just old and just need resurfacing. So you got a good sturdy base, you got no deep potholing, no deep rutting, you don't have any collapsing roadway, anything like that where the base is failing. You just have an old surface that needs treatment. Those are roads we can 100% do all day, which is kind of the situation that we have here. So typical candidates, anything thermal cracking, you can start to get some raveling where the oil's completely lost and you're getting just kind of that aggregate loosening up, fatigue cracking, if you've had the patch here and there just from small issues, or if it's just general poor rideability, you start to get ripples in the road, that kind of thing. That's all stuff that we can fix with our process. Things we can't do, these are some top 2 or a couple of bad examples that we don't run into very often, but you can't do delamination. We can't adhere our process back to concrete, so we poured asphalt over concrete somewhere, that's not a candidate. Unsuitable base, cobblestone, brick, anything that's been laid underneath with asphalt poured on top, we typically can't treat for the same reason. Anything that's overpatched, which that's kind of a bad example, we could actually probably fix that. But if you've got multiple mixes patched multiple different years apart, sometimes that mix doesn't come through very good, but we can assess those on case by case. And then collapsing roadway is kind of what I'm talking about. You get that far gone, that's a full depth project. That's not something that we can treat. So typically the way our process works is, well, either meeting like this, meet at a show, wherever. You say, hey, I think I have this road that might work. I'll come out, we'll go drive it. We'll take a look, see if there's any trouble areas, any questions, if something just needs to be patched in advance. If you have a certain gutter, we may recommend a bit of an edge mill, so when you put a capping layer on, you have something to butt up and pave against. But we'll drive it and assess it and determine whether it's a candidate that way first. And then from there, we'll core that road and have those samples sent into the lab. And so what we'll do in the lab is actually pull that aggregate apart, so they'll separate it all, and then we'll add a rejuvenating agent into it, and then pack it back down and retest it and make sure that we're getting the readings we want on the density, pen level, and everything, that we're getting that new asphalt mix. So we'll know some places depending on the mix or whatnot. But for the most part, by the time we pull cores, we're going to be 100% sure that it's a road that we're going to be comfortable and that you'll be happy with when we're done. We aren't a company that's going to go to a road that is too far down for us and tell you, yeah, hey, we'll do it anyway, because that's not good for us, not good for you. If you're not happy, one happy customer might tell one person, one angry customer tells 10. That's usually the way it goes. So we're not going to sell you on something that won't work. So the actual process that you'll see today, so it's a 2-truck operation with a roller behind. So first truck is just a preheater. So this truck is going to run at about 180 to 200 degrees. Main reason for the preheating, there's 2 main reasons. The first one is any surface oils, your crack seal, if you have chips, micro, anything on top of it. If we try to go all the way up to full heat on that first pass, a lot of that stuff is going to burn and char, and then you might actually damage the aggregate that's under there. So this first layer will kind of ease into that, take off all those surface oils without actually igniting them, burning it, and causing any damage to the road. And it also allows the main heater to give more depth penetration. So we only recycle 1.5 inch, 3/4 is roughly what we'll get the tines in, but you'll get heat penetration up to 3 to 4 inches deep. So some of that existing oil, some of your crack seal stuff that we liquefies, that'll actually seep down into that base layer and actually provide treatment and crack sealing a little bit lower in the surface than the actual aggregate that we're recycling with that preheating pass. Then the second pass is the main heater. This will take it up to normal H&A temps, anywhere from 280 to 320 degrees, just depending what we need to get the depth. That's might fluctuate daily, depending on the outside temperature, the road surface temperature, everything like that. They can adjust propane levels on the fly out there, so you'll see them tweaking with it depending where they're at, just to make sure they're not getting it too hot or not hot enough to make sure that they're getting the mix they're looking for. Then right behind that heater, you'll see little wheels there. There's oil dripping off of that. That's our rejuvenating agent. It comes down onto those little flywheels, which spread it evenly across the surface. And typically, it'll vary a little bit. We'll predetermine what it is based on the lab testing, but it's usually about 1/10 of a gallon per square yard or so of rejuvenating agent that'll be applied back into the asphalt. And then you'll see the meat and potatoes of it with the scarification. So there's 2 sets of spring-loaded tines that'll drop in, and those go, like I said, about 1.5 inches down is usually what we target. That'll actually just drag through and just pull that asphalt apart. And the nice part about this process, you'll see when we get to manhole covers and that kind of thing, these are spring-loaded and they're just adjustable screws. So as long as your manhole covers are flush or within 1 inch, you can just go right over the top of them. We don't actually have to pull up, drive over, and then you have to come around and mill and repave around those areas. So we can actually just go right over the top, continue the process. If they're a little higher than that, we may have to lift, then they may have to do some manual work in there, breaking it out, mixing it, putting it back down. But typically we can go right over the top of those. Then it just goes back into a reverse locker system. Mixes it, develops that new uniform asphalt. This video, you'll see why. And then it's just paved on a regular line. So, this street is adjustable. We can go anywhere from 10 to 14 feet wide. So, typically, if your road is 26, 28 feet in narrow, we can do it with 2 passes. Like we have up here, we got some line lanes for a certain area or something like that. Maybe I'll come back and go 3. But we'll always overlap every joint of each paved. So you don't have a center line, for example, like you do with the mill and fill where you're paving a lane. It pools, you pave another lane, now you're stuck with that center line joint that doesn't seal. That's source number 1 of cracking on a lot of asphalt roads. So we actually overlap that joint, seal it, and then when it's paved and done, you have a nice monolithic surface that prevents anything from seeping into that surface. Yes.
How deep are you cutting that?
Good, like 1.5 inches.
Just 1.5 inches?
Yep, about 1.5 inches.
But you're heating to 4 inches?
Usually 3 to 4 is what we'll get down there. Yep. So, and that's why, I didn't say that at the beginning, but for candidates, we want probably a minimum of 4 inches of asphalt. If you only have 3, we might only go like an inch down in tree surface. We need to leave enough base to adhere back to when we're paving. So we want to make sure there's about 2 solid inches of asphalt down there that we're not scarifying through to make sure that we keep that minor course underneath. But these center line joints with this overlapping heating process actually do need like airport runway spec. So it's a nice clean surface when we're all said and done. And if your road is wider, the project we did in Bellevue, they were like 29-foot wide roads. So we did 3 passes of 10 feet instead of just doing 2. And then that way we don't want to overlap. We overlap it to seal it, but we don't want to pre-mix more material than we need to. So we'll always adjust that based on how much overlap we need. And then we compact it, so we got the roller coming behind. It's a tandem roller you'll see out there. Steel drum in the front, rubber in the back. Steel helps get that compaction. The rubber just kind of grooves out some of those voids that are left. We'll test density right out of the gate to kind of know how many passes we need to get that density. Typically he'll go over it 2 or 3 times, just depending on what that surface calls for. And then you just need to cap it with something. So I believe here you're doing chip seal over the top. Chip works fine, especially on lower volume roads. Save you a bunch of money. If you're looking for a little more structure, you have higher volume roads, then we typically just recommend doing like a 1-inch thin lift overlay. If you want to add more structure, if you've added truck traffic, it's in a growing area, something like that, you can always add additional asphalt above and beyond that. So if you want to build, if you're looking at something where you're going to mill off 2 and pour 4, you can do this process and just add 2 inches instead and still save yourself some money in those situations. So it just needs to be sealed. It is a little coarser mix than new mix. You just have some air voids after the compaction, so you just want to seal it to keep water and debris from getting in there. In the south, they'll use micro as a finishing component. Up here, it's a little brittle for the freeze thaw, so typically you run a plow over it, a couple of freeze thaws, 2-3 years, that will start to crack a little bit, but now your surface is exposed, and now it's going to start cracking as well. So up here, I typically either recommend a chip or an HMA overlay for anything basically above Missouri is typically what we do. Open to traffic immediately after we're done. You'll see out there we have a flagging operation at each end. The lane that we're not currently working on stays open, so traffic can flow. You don't have to shut off driveways, entry points anywhere. If you're on a county road, farms, anything like that, you don't have to keep people out of their homes. That we don't move real fast, that you'll see, but it's fast enough that if somebody's waiting to get in their driveway, it's probably 15 minutes till we're past there and they can get in. So you don't have to close your roads down and shut down traffic. Also, perk to this versus milling, you don't have that exposed space sitting there for a day or 2 while they're milling off until they repave with vehicles driving over it, kind of beating up that base. So, and if you're milling, you got big trucks rolling through that sometimes, which can really damage that level. So that's a nice part of this process. It's a moving operation. We don't have to close anything down while we're working. So there's some side-by-side pictures in here, stuff we've done, but you'll see that live when we're out there, so I won't spend much time on that. Structural value is, like I discussed, is one of those perks. You mill off 2 inches, you put 2 inches down, you're just back flush where you were. So with our process, we're milling at grade, so you're keeping the existing asphalt there, but anything you add on the top is now gaining structure back in that road. Even if it's a quarter or 3/8 inch chip, that's something. If you're adding an inch of asphalt, that's all new structure versus just milling out, putting back on top, and you're no higher above that base than you were when you started. So a couple other perks is the reduction of trucking. Probably one of the big complaints you get when you do a mill and fill is trucks running in and out of there. There's no new material with our process. All we add in is the oil. So the only trucks you see out there are our 2 machines running and the roller behind it. So the only trucks that you're going to have at all in this operation is whatever you overlay it with. So whether it's chip or hot mix overlay, that's all the trucking you have on those streets, which also takes a lot of pressure off your side roads that are coming off of that road. So they're coming in and out of there. So the big part of why we do this and why it's as popular as it is cost savings. So typically, you know, a mill and fill is going to run you whatever it runs you. We're typically going to come in, this says $6 a square yard. We're usually in that range, depending on the size of the project, under that. And then it's just your overlay on top of it. So I would say, you know, 50 to 60% of our customers are saving somewhere between 20 and 30%. If your asphalt prices are $100 plus, you're now talking 30, 40, 50. I got customers South Dakota paying like 128 a ton for asphalt, so they're saving like 62% doing this process. So easy on the budget, easier on your assessments for your residents, which the ones that talked to up in Bellevue were real happy about. You know, their original assessment they got was going to be about 12 grand household, and they ended up getting it down to about 7, so they were pretty thrilled when that happened. DCI wouldn't worry about that. You guys don't have any. Wisconsin doesn't have any of this, but some states do. If they get a federal program, they would, but it is a greener process because of the reduction in trucking. So if there's carbon credit programs or anything like that, that becomes you get state eligible funding or federal eligible funding for, you can apply for that because it is a lower carbon process than milk. So that's the quick, fast, and easy process of it. Any questions at all about anything? Yes.
Yeah, how soon do you suggest an overlay on top of it then?
The 3 to 3, so 3 days to 3 weeks is typically what we're looking for. So you want to let it sit just a bit, just to cool and settle before you cap it. So that's the 3 days. But the longer it sits exposed like that, you get rain, you get whatever, you start to get debris falling in there. That's going to contribute to cracking. So the sooner the better. Anytime after 3 days.
And typically, how long does this stuff last then?
When we're done with it, it should last about the same. We expect 90% of the lifestyle of a new asphalt road. So if you're expecting 20 years out of an asphalt road, 15 to 17 is what we're targeting. You should, if it's a lower volume road, you should get the same 20 years out of it. The higher volume ones may be a little less, but we're basically replacing a mill and fill. So anything that you would expect to get out of that, you should get out of this. And we actually, there's a couple counties in Minnesota that had a similar highway that went back to back. And they ran hot in place down one county for 3 mile stretch, and they did a mill and fill north in the other county on the 3 mile stretch. And after 5 years, they went back to hot in place. Hasn't really started cracking at all yet, and they had stuff coming back ready for the mill and fill. So the problem with the mill and fill is any of that cracking that's existing on that base, you pour new hot mix over the top, it's only a matter of time before that creeps up. Whereas with this, you get some of that treatment of that base layer as well. Any other questions?
I guess I got one. Town of Troy's roads are so bad without it. I didn't know how much crack filler is too much.
There's not really anything that's too much. It's going to smoke more. You'll see that they are smoking a little bit out there, so you'll get a little more of that. The only one that causes some trouble is some of that stuff that's got the elastine in it. That's usually used on bridges and that kind of thing, which we don't really treat. But some people use it on roads as well. That rubbery stuff doesn't always liquefy all the way, so it may drag a little bit, which we usually don't have a problem pulling through unless it's in excess. Most of the time, they may just have to stop a little more often, lift the tines, clean them out, and keep going. So we can tell that usually driving it, whether or not it's going to cause a problem or not.
So you guys are going to be out. I think I'm right.
You shouldn't need it. Your roads are perfect. You have all the money in the world.
Any other questions at all?
I threw some numbers quick from budget last year. For a mill and fill, basically what, take 2 inches off, put 2 inches back on. I need them. Our part of it would have been part that they're doing would have been roughly 69,000. Or no, I'm wrong here. The mill and repave, the town part would have been $356,012. The village would have been $98,000. To do what we're doing now is $240,000, and the village is $69,000. So we're saving almost $116,000 on our part, and they're saving roughly $30,000 on our part.
Is that including the chip sealing?
Yeah, is that
Yep.
including chip seal?
Yep, including chip sealing.
And that's on, what are we doing, a little over 2
Just,
miles?
it's 2.1 miles the whole thing.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're doing, you expand that out over 4 or 5 miles, I mean, that can be pretty significant savings.
Do you have a minimum size project you know, that you like to do?
So typically, our minimum that it makes sense for financially for mobilization and everything is about 75,000 square yards, which comes to roughly 5 total miles. They do not have to be consecutive, like the ones we did up in Bellevue. It was 3 separate locations and different developments that we went in and did, so that's fine. We're also, if it's regional, you know, if we got 3 of you around here that have 2 miles apiece, that's fine too. We just, to get the equipment here is the cost. So once we're here, we can move it around a little bit and make those things work. So usually if we get one customer interested that's got 3 miles, then it's my job to just call the counties around, other villages and towns around, and see if anybody else has a project they're looking to do. Or if it's even located between, you know, where we were up in Green Bay, we stopped here before we head to Chicago to the next one, then that makes it work. So if you've got something, we're willing to look at it, but if you only one in 100 miles and it's, you know, 2 miles, it's probably going to be a little tough to make. We can still do it, but the cost is going to be
500 personal driveways are no good.
No, we won't touch personal driveways. I'll let you guys deal with that. Any other questions at all for me before we head out there? Very good. Yeah, we'll go take a look. I'll be out there. If you have questions, when you're looking at anything, just come and ask me. You can talk pretty familiar with it now that we've been out here a couple days. So, and then Derek, our foreman, he's a tall, skinny black dude out there. He's more knowledgeable on this than anybody, so if you have any operational questions, feel free to ask him as well. So, we can head out there. And
They're all gonna go down to the pole launch parking lot, cause they're right in that area.
Yep.
So that gives us plenty of room to work.
And then,
Follow leader.
we'll finish up there. I got, lunch is gonna be ready. They figured about 11:30, so I'll go pick it up about 11:15 and come back here. And then if you have any other questions, I'll be back here as well for lunch. And we can hash it out. There's some spec guidelines and business cards here. If you wanna wait till we come back to grab any of that, if you want to take it with you, feel free.
Should I go downstairs, Rich?